and I'd rather focus on the substantive areas. We notice as you read it, you see some spelling and some, in terms of the English, I wouldn't comment on the Japanese, but so the minor corrections, I think the editing we can do at lunchtime to present the full version, but we would like to open the floor for any substantive comments that you might have. Is somebody roving? Mikoro and Hakuro are here, so is somebody roving with the microphone? Okay, and then we will take down the comments.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to share. First is in point one. I think it is better to put community-based education not as the second position after school or formal school at that point, I think. So in points 1.2.2, we acknowledge that schools will continue to be a resource in community for the promotion of ESD, and school-based only as additional. So I think it is now, yes, but through this conference, we learned that community-based is maybe we want to mainstreaming it at the future, not put it as additional after formal school, I think. So it is my suggestion, but we think, is it possible? And second is in point two. In point two, about our roles and contribution, I think it is very important for ESD about peace promotion and multicultural education. And I think there are many case experience that already implemented in many CLCs about and also conflict resolutions. Especially in Indonesia, we have some cases like this, and I think it is very important to put them, to acknowledge it as the roles and contributions of the CLC to promote community cohesiveness, to promote peace education and peace promotion and conflict resolutions. I think it is very important to put it in point two, and also, of course, to point three, of course, because we need to also to strengthen this potential of CLC in this point. I think that is my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. At the back.
日本語で話します。今文化庁にいますけども、元、社会教育課長をして、公民館の仕事を文部科学省でしておりました上与と申します。まずは、このドラフトを作っていただいた実は私もちょっと途中までお手伝いしておりましたけれども、本当にその後徹夜で、まとめていただいたドラフトをまとめていただいたドラフティングコミュニティの皆様に、まずは感謝を申し上げたいと思います。本当に、非常に、大変よくまとまった文書になっている、またインパクトの強い、文章になっていると思います。その上で2つほどサジェッションをしたいのですが、先ほどブハイさんがおっしゃった意見に私も全く同感で、やはり学校教育の昨日も申し上げましたが、学校教育の補完とか、あるいは学校教育に次ぐその公民館 CLC、 あるいはコミュニティベースドラーニングという位置づけではなくて、もちろんその地位を高めていくという趣旨の文章がもちろん入ってはいるのですが、そこをもう少し具体的に、その 名古屋の会議に参加する、あるいは今後のその国連のその会議に参加する人たちの意識を変えるようなその我々そういう公民館CLC あるいはコミュニティベースドラーニングに関わるすべての人たちのやっぱりそういう地位をある認識をもう少しワンランクアップ上げるような感じのもう少し強い表現がこう盛り込まれるといいのではないかと思います。それから2つ目はですねコミットメントのところをちょっと出してほしいのですがすいませんどこだったかな。もう少し下げていただけますか。ごめんなさい。はい、結構です。ですね。どこだったかな。ごめんなさい。ちょっと確認できないので、とりあえずここまでにします。ありがとうございました。
Okay, at the back.
Thank you very much. I'm Takashi Asai, that I'm a member of this organizing committee. But just one mention. So at the first sentence of this document, the first sentence. Yes. So at the first point, we 700 participants. I can see, but I wonder the 700 figure is correct or not. So instead of 700, I will suggest all the participants.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. We will count each of you as you come out. No.
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's a very good outcome. First, not very long. And we worked very hard, and it's a very precise outcome. And there's one thing, before I came here, I asked about the relationship between EFO and ESD. ESA and AFO and ESD. Yeah. So I think in the last I saw that. But now I think another thing is about ESD and CLC. Because in my opinion, ESD is a very big issue. It's for a whole world for ESD. And I think CLC is more actual, is more down to the earth about ESD. That means we think about from a local level, from the personal, from an individual level to think about this. I think it's most of the things already in it. So that's my comments. And also talking about school. Just now we talked about the formal school. And I think we should express our opinion about future education. The future education is not only happens in school. Formal education is not enough. That's why we have CLC. CLC in the last century, we worked on literacy education. And since the beginning of this century, we worked on income generation and so on, life skills. And if we look on in the future, I think we'll talk about the education lifelong learning, or we call it lifelong education or lifelong learning. That's the future of education, not only for CLC. If we look up in 20 years, CLC will become the main forms of education, because not only for school, formal. So that's my we don't talk about school and CLC. We talk about educational environment and CLC. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to go slow, sir. Okay.
Thank you very much. I am Hashimi from Afghanistan. During these 2 days, which I learned in this document, which we are finalizing now, there is some peace and environmental and other issues. But in my opinion, our Central Asian countries face with some inequality, big problem in women population. For example, we have sexual harassment, and also the women inequality raised a very big problem for such as Afghanistan countries. But in this document, just mentioned gender equality, and I hope to what kind of program through ESD we can issue for that to prevent such big problem. For example, through UN agencies, civil societies, if they can prepare some curriculum or a specific document to prevent such problem in these countries. Thank you very much.
全体についてということで、最初の持続可能な社会のために複雑なクライシスに対応するっていうあたりとの問題っていうのが緊急な危機に対応するっていうことについて、エンパワーメントとかライフライン学習継続の的学習の必要とかコミュニティレベルから対応するっていうボトムアップでその政策に影響を与えるっていうことを表現の中に含まれているのだと思うんですけれども、もう少しその最初の発言の中でも実際のクライシスの中にはコンフリクトっていうか地域の紛争とか、それから権力既存の今あるそのいろいろなその政治的な構造っていう問題がコミュニティでの学習で必ず問われてくる。日本の今公民館の中でもその自由な学習が危ないっていう事件がいっぱい起きているんですね。そういうところからもどういうふうに地域の中で学習が地域の人たちの力で、発展しながらその危機を乗り越えるかって、その危機のところに政治的な構造の問題も乗り越えていく学習課題に入っている。でそのことによってその社会的な弱者が力を持つっていうこと、社会的な弱者だけじゃなく全ての今の政治構造にも疑問を投げかけられるような学習を地域でいろいろ実践に移していくっていうことの中に含めて出さないとどうしてもきれいな言葉で終わってしまって、そこら辺をどうやって表現してもらえるのかわからないんですけれども、特に日本の今の公民館の一つの傾向の中で政治的なものを避けるっていうことが改めてまた強くなってきていますので、政治的な学習を避けるっていう、そこら辺は決して避けるってことにならないってことは今回の議論の中でもたくさん出てきていたと思うんですね。最初の報告のグリーンエコノミーの問題なんかでも鋭くクリティカルに表現されている。だからそういう問題、政治的な問題もクリティカルに学習するってことをサポートすることで、本当に持続可能な社会の中身の実現に公民館や CLC の学習が貢献するってことを含めるような何か表現していただけるとありがたいなと思います。
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Anne Lasimbang from Malaysia. Thank you to the working committee for working very hard. I think community-based learning will be the education for the future. I think I support my colleagues where, this one should be very important and should be emphasized. And for just a little bit of addition for the commitment, I think this is just the term, number 10, I think point number 10. We say indigenous peoples. I think that's the political correct word now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Katsunori Suzuki, Kanazawa University. First, I'd like to recommend you to have just one authentic text, not two different texts in Japanese and in English. We should have just one, and translation of that one. That is my first suggestion, because we may have some confusion if translation may not be same. Second, back to the section 1. No, 1.1. Yeah, the echo to our previous speaker, I think, we should say, you said that we face an urgent crisis of sustainability. But me and you said that we made significant changes to their daily lives. But what has been wrong by scientists? We have not yet done sufficient effort to make changes. So this awareness of the crisis should be clearly mentioned in 1.1, number 1. Second, I'd like to emphasize, also I'd like to echo to our previous speakers that the formal, non-formal, and informal education are not the same level of importance. In the 1.12, it was clearly mentioned that the vision of the DSDs to create a world where everyone has the opportunity to benefit from education and learn the values and so on for positive societal transformation. So formal, non-formal, and informal should be equally important. That should be emphasized. Third, I wish to see that ESD is an evolving process, not just very static process. That we try to emphasize during our thematic discussions. Somewhere you may wish to include these important features. Lastly, regarding the commitment part, number 7, you discussed about the youth and young people, 7.7. 10, you discussed about the, the learning opportunities for girls, women, and so on. As our previous speaker mentioned, literacy for women is quite important. Maybe that come to the next 2.7 youth, young people. At the same time, opportunities for women could be independent, separate from other indigenous peoples and disabled and others. That's my suggestion. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Jess Fernandez from Philippines. I'd just like to comment on the commitment, whether the committee listed the commitments according to priority or not, as a matter of, just a matter of reflecting the urgency of the actions and also to capture immediate attention for whoever will be reading this. maybe you would consider that. And for institutions like us, if we have that kind of priority listing on a short-term or long-term basis, then we can also prioritize and also look into what kind of actions we would like to do in our own respective institutions. Thank you very much.
My name is Shigeru Aoyaki, the UNESCO New Developers. I really appreciate the wonderful work made by the drafting committee. I was just wondering and considering how this document will be used in the process of the next Naga conference, as well as Incheon World Education Forum, and eventually the next September next year, as the UN General Assembly, they will adopt the post-2015 development agenda. And this document should go through all the process, and eventually we need to vocal about the importance of the non-formal education, community-based education, and the role of the CLC and Kominkan to promote and advance ESD. So in order to do so, I fully agree with my previous speaker about how we can convey a strong message through this document. So based on that, I have one question about the structure of this document. I think you come up with a very wonderful statement at the last of this document, which is be committed, blah, blah, blah. Just go down to explain. Yes, we acknowledge the need to encourage, engage with local, national, and international forums. I think this paragraph is very strong. This could be the first. Then you can follow, we will follow the commitment. Then we can come up with, we can go for the roles and contribution. And then the introduction might be somewhere inappropriate. But we should go with very strong message at the beginning. Then we will explain why we argue this one, blah, 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 blah. So that if we change the structure, we will be much more vocal and much more articulate our messages.
I'm Lily Besta of Senior Winotech, an intergovernmental organization based in Quezon City, Philippines. First of all, congratulations for coming up with this document, which is full of heart, and that makes it powerful. And also, it's amazing to see the words that we used yesterday in the breakout sessions there, which tells us, hey, we were there, we were part of it. So my words are related to what was said earlier. Kominkan, I learned yesterday, is highly successful because in 1949 it was part of a national law. I'm wondering if we can also advocate for that countries who participated here and those who will be interested there would be an advocacy to make it a national law in the different countries as well. Thank you so much.
Myself, Anjali Agrawal from India. I really appreciate all the hard work that has gone into putting up this document. And as one of my previous speakers had also spoken about that this is not a static process that we are talking about. So I would just like to, say out one sentence that could maybe go into the commitment part. That change is a dynamic process, and so are the challenges of sustainable development. We continually need to innovate and evolve new educational methodologies as part of education for sustainable development and adapt ourselves to changing needs of society. Thank you.
I am Dil Shrestha from Nepal. I would like one thing. This is number 12. Encourage government to support Kominkan and CLC-based activities that tackle local, national, regional, and global challenges for ESG. I would like to add, encourage government and UN organizations, not only the government. Thank you.
帝京大学山本です。日本語でちょっと話します。今回の、最初、岡山宣言2014という案があったわけなんですけど、2007年に出した岡山宣言というのがあるので、これは宣言は、その基本的な案に従っているのでというので、今回コミットメントという言葉に、したらどうかと私が、というか宣言は避けた方がいいんじゃないかと提案したんですけど、これは今回コミットメントになってますよね。それで文章の中に今まで岡山市が取り組んできたことっていうのをもう少しきちんと書いておくと思います。例えば岡山市は2005年に RC の指定を受けて、10年間本当に取り組んできたんです。で特に公民館を主体にして、この会議の参加者だけでなくて本当に昨日各地の公民館に行かれて皆さんすごい皆様もてなしてくださったわけですけど、そういった ESD と公民館という過去の取り組みについてもやはりきちんと書いていただきたいと思います。でそれで2007年にやっぱり公民館こそESD の推進にふさわしい場所だという宣言を岡山宣言というのを出して、それに基づいて今回いろんな機関がこの会議に向けて協力してくれたわけであります。ですからそのことを必ず書いていただきたいのが私の要望でありますし提案です。で特にやっぱり岡山市が10年間取り組んできたことというのはですね、やはり世界に向けてこの10年やっぱりやってきたというですね、なぜ岡山というそれを非常に大事にしてほしいなと思います。以上です。
My name is Ramesh, I am from India. When we talk about sustainability, the three major actors play a role, in particular in context of the developing country, either politician or government, community and community-based institutions. We talk about the government and community-based institutions, but the major role which shape or achieving the sustainability played by the corporate, and we haven't mentioned anywhere what the role or how we can make a partnership with the corporate, and which is going to be a big force in developing countries to save the sustainability or educating or miseducating the community for sustainability in their context. So how we commit ourselves to make a partnership or positive way to partnership with the corporate and bring their role in the CLC initiative.
日本の小栗です。まずこの2日間のですね会議の内容を本当に受け止めていただいたドラフティングの皆さん心から敬意を表したいと思います。ありがとうございます。その上で一つあるんですけども、昨日確か末本先生がコメントで出されてたと思うんですが、多様性ということをおっしゃっておりました。でそれはその知の多様性だったり自由に活動する多様性だったりと、でそれというのが実は自由の保障なんだということが、ありました。で、例えばこのドラフトの2の、ちょっと 2を、この CLC がどういう場所なのかというところで、2.1 の1ですかね、場所っていうことの中にもちろん学びだとか参加とか、入ってあるんですけども、認め合うというか、そういった部分が全体としのトーンとしてもう少しあってもいいのかなということです。ただ一方で先ほどの、文化庁の方の話もありましたし、政治の話もあったので、その CLC っていうのは単にその補完ではなくという、あるいはその政治的な文脈、あるいはその支配的なパラダイムという、中でなかなかその自由というものをどう位置づけるのかっていうのは難しい部分はあると思うんですけども、ただ、そういった自由さというか多様性というところは、全体を含めて大事な視点じゃないかなと思いました。以上です。
すいません、もう一回紙をです。先ほどちょっと、言い忘れたことを思い出しましたので、その前にもう一つ、今ちょうど2の1がそのまま2にしてください。その中の、半括弧2のアザブリッジビトゥイン云々っていうところですが、これは全くその通りだと思いますが、実はこれ CLC もそうだと思いますが、公民館というのは異なる種類の教育機関だけではなくて、行政だとか、あるいは企業だとか、あるいは地域のいろいろな団体、NPO、そういうものも結びつけた一種の扇の要のような役割をする、そういう形でコミットをしてきたんだというような、そういうニュアンスの方がより、表現としては適切かなというふうに、思いました。それからもう一つ、さっき言おうとしたことですが、すいません、コミットメントの中に、その公民館と CLC の、ネットワークを強化するような文章があったと思いますが、シスター、姉妹公民館みたいな話がちょっとどっかに出てたと思うんですけども、ごめんなさい、ここですかね、ありがとうございます。そう、こうじゃないですね、ごめんなさい。ちょっともう少し上に上げていただけますか。ごめんなさい。すいません。確かそういうところがあったと思うんですが、先ほどちょっと前の方のセクションでご提案がありました、公民館と CLC のためのリソースセンターをという、ここですかね、ごめんなさい、という、そういう、ではなくて、つまり公民館とCLC、あるいは、そういうコミュニティベースドラーニングのいろんな NGO とか、そういう人たちとのネットワークをもっと拡大するというような、確かそういうものがあったと思うんですけども、すいません、その中で、できればもう少しそこを具体的にそのために何をするかみたいなことが書けるといいのではないか。で、さっき前の方のアイデアで公民館と CLC のためのリソースセンターを作るというようなアイデアもありましたけれども、非常にいいアイデアだと私も思いますし、そういうことも含めてちょっと、どこまで具体的に書けるかという問題はありますが、ちょっと考えていただければと思います。以上です。
Jenny Teasdale, Australia. I think that our drafting committee has done a fantastic job in capturing the spirit of this gathering, a very difficult task done well. And I think with judicious editing, sharpening and even shortening, this will become a very powerful document. A question, am I to believe that this is a shorter document, a short, sharp document that goes on to these conferences, and that a longer document will be produced? The report? Okay. And my final comment is, what about a metaphor, an analogy, to make the whole document dance? They worked all night, I dreamt all night. And I thought of other conferences where we've come up with metaphors and analogies. The Hope Conference, we came up with the lotus blossom. I thought about this region, Okayama, and the thing that's really hit me as we've travelled out to the Kominkan and gone into the supermarket, gone out to eat our morning tea, are the magnificent grapes. And the grape is all over the world in some form or other. Think about the plant, think about its roots, think about the vine, think about its seasons, it comes, it goes. Kominkans rise, they fall, they renew. I really think we could do a story using the Okayama grapes as the basis for our analogy.
Thank you very much. I want to add my voice to the rest of the people who have thanked the drafting committee for this excellent work that we are going through. Most of the times it's good to have an excellent document, but when it comes to putting it into practice, there are always challenges. I realized throughout these discussions that we are very few from other parts of this continent, particularly Africa, and I'm not sure whether we are 2 or 1 from Uganda. My concern is that immediately from here, I would love to go and put this into practice, because Uganda is going to be a latecomer in this issue of trying to push the ESD. I don't know what mechanisms we have, because I'm told there are other conferences that are coming through which this document is going to pass, but as a Ugandan, I feel for us it is going to be too late to be waiting for those other conferences to come. I would like to ask, how are we going to take this information to our local people? Because I have come to believe that the Kominkan model and the CLCs are really going to be the opportunity we have to achieve the goals of education for all. So I want to kind of appeal to every people that for me, if this is going to be a very useful document, immediately after leaving here, I must go and try to cascade this at various levels. I can use my forum in the university to talk about this. I can go to district levels where we have the real people we want to bring on board. So I want help from people to see how I should be able to do that. Thank you very much for the drafting committee, and I look forward to us see this practically going down to the people.
Okay. With that, I shall try to get one more person before I.
日本語で言います。今日の内容をコミットメントとして発表するには具体性がやっぱり弱い気がします。そういう点でいくとどっちかというと地球検証のような公民館 CLC 検証というような形で発表した方がなんか少し理念的なところが強すぎてですね、具体性をこれから文章化するのは非常に無理じゃないかと思うので、そういうのはダメなんですか。公民館検証のような形で発表、コミットメントじゃなくて検証として出すという形ではどうでしょうか。
A lot has been said already, and people are maybe getting a little bit anxious to get something to drink and eat. And that's my point, food. When we go to the commitment number 6, there's a number of important issues being raised. And I think food security, I mentioned in my talk earlier, 1 billion people overweight, 1 billion people underweight, so it's food and nutrition security. A lot of community-based learning is happening around food transitions in urban and in rural areas. So sustainable food transitions. If we look at transition town movements, food is becoming a very important part and driving a lot of innovation in communities towards sustainability. So my only point is really, can we add food and nutrition security to these issues? And I want to again congratulate the drafting committee on an excellent job. I find it very impressive what has been accomplished in such a short period of time.
Thank you.
Just one small point. In the whole document, when we talked about the different forms of education, I think it is important that somewhere we flag on the whole quality issue. Because this is a general concern, not only for formal, also for non-formal and informal. Because quality will be the one which would be really, will make the difference. And somehow we have to bring it. The point 3, section 3.4, if you please go to that. right, advance the innovative practices of PhD through ongoing documentation and research. So I think that the research has to be an extended role, just not looking into the innovative practices. So including the impact, the kind of intersectoral connections, all those. So it has to be slightly reformulated. Very minor, but I think it is important that most part of the world, Kominkan are not, someone pointed out about the legal framework. Kominkan's relation to the local governments. So when we talk about the legal framework, we have to bring the issue of local government's connection with the Kominkan's CLCs. So it has to be part of the kind of legal framework that someone has pointed out. And the final point, it is I think on the 1.3.2. Could you please go to that 1.3.2? Yeah. There is a word somewhere, anxieties. Yeah. So I wonder, my mother tongue is not English, but I wonder whether we put in a more positive sense that it's not only the anxiety, but also with the hope. And with the first 700, very fast number of 700, somehow I am missing the women. Yeah, we 700, there are, because usually when we look at a number, we essentially think of men and not always the women. Somehow think that it's half of the house are women. Thank you.
I only have an overall comment, and that is my wish that this admirable and very beautiful document can be used in relation to getting community-based learning and CLCs a stronger place also in the global action program, in the CLCconference, the World Education Forum, and not least in the Sustainable Development Goals. My wish would be that we can sharpen the document, we can sharpen the arguments in the document, why or how can community-based learning play a more important role and should play a more important role in the future to reaching the Sustainable Development Goals. We've agreed that it has been underestimated the last 10 years. Now it can play a more important role. What is the argument, or what are the good arguments? And my last point is, can we have a kind of sharpening also a few sentences in relation to a key message, so that when we have read the commitment or the charter, we close our eyes. What is it we remember? What is the key message for which the Okayama Commitment 2014 will be remembered? Could that be sharpened a bit? Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to give any comments?
Hi. いろんな意見をいただきました。これはちょっと精査してまたどのように扱えるか議論させていただきたいと思いますが、全体的なことですが、ずっとこの文章の作成を手探りしながらやってきましたけれども、非常に出来上がったものを自分で言うのもなんですけれども、見直してみるととても内容豊かで、非常に細かいところに議論が行き及んだということがよくわかる、そういう意味で非常に良い集会になったんではないかなというふうに感じています。なかなかと言いますか、全体的なその世界に対して提案していかなきゃいけないものですので、どの程度皆さんのご要望を そのまま受け止められるかどうかということは少し考えさせていただかなきゃいけない面があるかと思いますが、まだ続きますので最大限の努力をしたいと思います。
I guess the most there are two really strong contentious things is in terms of, I think we can decide later, is we wanted to adopt both the English and the Japanese. There is a suggestion to just adopt the English and therefore allow time for the Japanese to be developed. Is that something acceptable, or you'd rather have both? Again, I think we were very sensitive, of course, that it has to be in the language also of the host country. So how do we, can we discuss and propose to you after lunch? Is that okay? So I think that's the first main issue. The second main issue, I think, around the restructure and the key message. I think it's the sharpening of the restructure and the key message. And thank you, and this is something about when you start linearly, we started from here to get to there, but I think given we want to have an impact, maybe we should start to what we want to say and then explain what we want, why we're saying that. So there's a restructure that we can actually respond to, and I think that's clear. I think the third message that I'm getting clearly is that we need to be clear about, in terms of not just the restructure, but the key message of the important role of Kominkan-CLCs in the future of education for sustainable development. No longer considering just to say formal, non-formal, but this is the position and the role, and I think that will be clearly more articulated if we put up in terms of the key messages. The others are very specific contributions to specific sections, and I think that most of them will really be manageable without having as long, without extending much of the document. And in terms of, I think it's important, and sorry we don't have it in the English version, in terms of acknowledging Okayama, I think it's in the Japanese version, but I think we can acknowledge and thank Okayama not just for hosting us, but also in the ongoing commitment that it has had in terms of education for sustainable development. And so, and I think part of from Willie, what I heard was, we're not just putting this up for Nagoya. I think that's where, in terms of the focus on the diagrams, Nagoya, we're actually saying also that this is part of the gap, and it therefore should go not just upwards to Nagoya, but actually to the local communities and the national areas where when we go back. So I think in the spirit, and the other one is, if there's time to look at the metaphor of the grapes, again, that is a way of rounding it up in terms of telling the story. But the other comments are actually, I think, workable in terms of emphasis of some of the words that we might have missed. As you were saying, some of the words we said, oh yeah, we saw that, but somehow at 3 o'clock in the morning, I think they dropped out of trying to phrase. So we will revisit the tables again over lunch. And so on behalf of Sumimato Sensei, and on behalf of, I know everybody was part of the drafting, but can I just ask everybody who was part of the process, from the facilitators to the breakout sessions, to the part last night, to just stand up and just, because I think people said that we have managed to reflect the essence and the spirit of the conference. So can I just ask everybody to stand up now, before and just be acknowledged for all the contributions that you have made. So the breakout session facilitators, note takers, drafting committee members, can you please stand up? So, I think, I really think it's nice to hear that you feel that you see your words in there, and that's what we're trying to keep. And so hopefully in the last hour and a half, where we have, how many hours do we have to edit? I think while you're enjoying lunch, the festival out there, we will be editing and trying to present a new draft back to you at 2 o'clock. And so again, in the spirit of acknowledging where this comes from, in the spirit of the process, thank you very much. Sir Moto Sensei, would you like to say anything else? Sir Moto-san. Would you like to say anything else? So thank you very much. So I pass on now. Thank you.
成果文書委員の皆様、ファシリテートの宮沢さん、柴尾さん、どうもありがとうございました。もう一度皆さん大きな拍手を。会場の皆様も、たくさんのご意見ありがとうございました。この後はランチタイムになります。成果文書委員の皆様は会場の外でランチボックスを受け取っていただいて、4階の402のお部屋へご移動ください。それ以外の方はロビーでランチボックスをお渡ししますので、この会場もしくはこの建物の1階のところでお食事をいただければと思います。ランチボックスを受け取れるのは2時までとなっております。お弁当の空き箱は受け取った場所か1階の広場のところに吉田公民館という表示があるブースがありますので、そこのところへ返してください。またお弁当と一緒にスタンプカードをお渡しします。1階で本日は未来へつなごう岡山 ESD ふれあい広場というサイドイベントを行っていて、そちらでプレゼントがもらえるブースなどもありますのでご利用ください。また本日のパスカードの中にこういったフードチケットという1000円分のチケットが皆様に入っております。このチケットはサイドイベントの中で金券としてご利用できますので、ぜひお楽しみいただければと思います。ただしお釣りは出ませんのでお気をつけください。またこのフロアの左手奥302会議室や受付のありました2階ロビーやアトリウムでは公民館の活動などの展示をしております。ぜひランチタイムの間にご覧いただければと思います。なお、ポスター展示の撤去が3時から4時となっております。302のお部屋にポスター展示をされた方は4時には会場を閉めてしまいますので、それまでに撤収をお願いいたします。残念ながらこのセッションでお帰りの方はレシーバーを出口の方でお返しください。午後も引き続きご参加いただけます方は座席などに置かずにそれぞれお持ち歩きをいただければと思います。資料などはそのままお席に置いていただいて結構です。あと現在同時通訳のレシーバーが30台ほど戻ってきておりません。もしもカバンの中など見ていただいて、もしもあれ2つあるわっていう方がいらっしゃいましたら出口の方でお一つお返しいただければと思います。もう一つだけ、コングレスバッグの中にアンケートを入れております。参加されてお感じになったことを記入をしていただければと思います。扉を出たところに回収ボックスがありますので、お帰りになれるまでに、出していただければと思いますのでよろしくお願いいたします。それでは、お待たせいたしました。2時からセッションを再開しますので、それまでご自由におくつろぎください。ありがとうございました。